In this video, I'm going to share 10 important but actually quite simple steps that you need to take to be able to take having just an idea of wanting to write your own children's picture book to actually creating, publishing, and selling it on Amazon KDP. And don't worry, you do not have to go out and hire an illustrator that you might not have the budget for if you don't want to. There are other ways. Hi, I'm Caroline. Welcome to my channel. Every single week, I share videos all about self-publishing books, and you're watching one of them right now. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me here. If you want to build a thriving self-publishing business, but are not sure what steps to take, I do just want to let you know that I am releasing a course all about self-publishing books with a focus on low and medium content books. If this is something that you are interested in, there is a link down in the description box below where you can get onto the waitlist to be the first to be notified once the course is available. The first step in creating your children's picture book is choosing what age of child your book is going to be for. It is so important to do this before you even start thinking about creating your book, because the way that you write and construct a story will be dependent on the age of the child who will read the book. The younger the child, the more simple your sentences and your word structures are going to be. You need to make sure that your story is appropriate for the age of the child who will be reading or having that book read to them, so that they can understand what is going on in the story. A story for a 2 to 4 year old is going to be massively different to a story written for a 6 to 8 year old. So you need to make sure that your story and your book reflects that. If you do have kids of your own, or you are at least around kids quite often, then this will probably come pretty naturally to you to just automatically know what's appropriate for the age of child. But if you have never spent any time reading books to kids, then I would suggest just heading to your local library, or even getting on to Amazon, purchasing some books or downloading them into Kindle, and read through a whole bunch of books that are targeting different ages of kids. Especially read books around the age of the child that you are interested in writing a book for, and take note of the types of sentences that are used, the way they're constructed, the types of words that are being used, the difficulty of the words that are being used, and the way that the story is being told. It's a good idea at this point to also decide if you want your story to be a rhyming story, because you can also, during this process, pick out books that do have rhyming stories in them. So then you can get an idea of how they work and how they're written. Rhyming stories can be quite difficult to write. So reading other books that rhyme and practicing writing some rhyming sentences before actually going in and writing your story could be really helpful. The next step is choosing what you want your book or your story to be about. The wonderful thing about children's books is that there is no creative limit. They can be as far out and creative as you want them to be. There are no rules, and there are really no limits with these types of books. The story can be about absolutely nothing, or they can be a book that teaches something. The topics are absolutely endless. But the main thing that you want to focus on, regardless of what your story is about, is that it is engaging, that it makes the child feel something, that the child can relate to the story or relate to the characters in the story. The story will also need to have a beginning, a middle, and an ending, and it needs to have some sort of climax that comes somewhere in the middle of the book, and then whatever does happen in the middle of the book needs to be resolved at the end. Now that you have decided on the internal structures of your story, you can pretty much go ahead and get started writing it. Again, the age of the child you are writing a story for will determine how long or how many words and pages you'll have in your book. Generally, as an example, for a book aimed at a 4 to 6 year old, the book will be under 40 pages in length, and each page would usually have only 1 to 2 sentences on it. As the child starts to get older, if you start writing stories for older children, the story can start to get a little bit longer, a little bit more intricate, and the sentences that you use will start to get a bit longer, or you might have more of a paragraph per page as opposed to just a sentence. And the words that you use within your story will start to get a little bit more complicated or a little bit more advanced. While you are writing your story, just keep in the back of your mind how each sentence might look once it's displayed on the page, or how the story might play out once it's on the page. Once you have written your story, start to build the book and just get each of your sentences or your paragraphs laid out on the page. And this can just be as simple as the page just being a blank white page with a plain font being used for the words. There's no need to do any kind of design work at this point. So don't worry yet about what type of fonts you're going to be using or where and how exactly that text is going to be displayed on the page. So now that you have written your story, you've got the basic layout done, it's time to create your illustrations. And there are a few different options for you here. One is to hire an illustrator. This is going to be your most expensive option, but you will end up with a very high quality book if you hire the right person. And you can hire illustrators from freelancer websites like Upwork, and sometimes you can even get good illustrators on Fiverr. There are also Facebook groups that you can join where illustrators are looking for work, and so they'll use that Facebook group to showcase their previous work, and they are available for you to contact in regards to hiring them to illustrate your book, or at least contacting them to get a quote. No matter where you hire the person from, just make sure you only hire someone who does have positive reviews from previous clients, that they are already experienced and know what they're doing, and that they can show you and they have no problem showing you lots of examples of their previous work and other illustrating jobs that they've done. The next option is to purchase pre-made illustrations and piece them together yourself to create your pages. This is what I did when I created my children's picture book. I found an illustrator that I really liked the style of and created the style of images that I was looking for. And that person was selling some pre-made illustrations that were just perfectly suited for my story. And so I purchased that package, which included a whole bunch of different illustrations. And I used those images to create the pages of my book. This is a great option because you are still getting images from a professional illustrator, but just at a much cheaper price because those images are pre-made, they're not custom, and other people do also have access to those images if they wanted to buy and use them as well. A couple of tips that I do have for you, if you choose to do this, is try to buy all your illustrations from the same illustrator, because then all your images are going to be the same style. They're going to have a cohesive look throughout your book and they will all match each other. It's not going to be obvious that you've pieced them together yourself as it would if you had images and illustrations from a bunch of different illustrators with different styles, and then it could look quite mismatched. You want the book to flow in both the story and the illustrations. Another tip is just make sure that the illustrator you purchase from does allow you to use those images for commercial use, meaning that you are allowed to use them in a product that you are going to sell and profit from. The last option that you have for your illustrations is by using an AI bot, something like Midjourney, to create your images. And this is going to be the cheapest option, but I think the issue with using AI sometimes is that AI images look really AI. I'm not sure how else to explain it, but you want your images to look like they were illustrated, not created by an AI bot. And in my opinion, images that come from an AI bot just have this really distinctive look about them where it's really easy to pick that they were generated by AI. But there are ways that you can write prompts for the AI bot in order to create a more natural looking image. So if you can figure out how to do that, you can end up creating some good images for your book. If you have gone down the pathway of purchasing illustrations or using AI to create illustrations, then it's time to actually build your book. Head on over to the KDP website where it will give you the sizes that you need to create your canvas for your book. Let's say you're creating a children's picture book that is going to be 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches. That isn't actually going to be your file size. You do need to add on a little bit extra to account for things like trimming. Now you can start the process of placing your illustrations on your page and playing around with the placement of your text and how it all looks together on the page. And this might take a little bit of time, a little bit of playing around, a little bit of trial and error with it, and just moving elements around until you are happy with how each of the pages look. You can use whatever program that you are comfortable using for this. The program basically just needs for you to be able to create a page and add images and text to it. So there are lots of programs out there that can do that for you. Canva is a pretty easy program to use if you don't have any other software that you know or like using. And if you do want to use Canva purely just for the ability to create your book, then the free version of Canva is going to be completely fine to use. If you do want to use some of the Canva elements though in your book too, then the pro version of Canva is probably going to come in really handy. What I do like about Canva is that you can use the images and the elements in Canva, some of the smaller ones, and just use them to sort of fill out the background of your pages. So you aren't using the Canva images as the main part of your page, but just use little accents that will really help complete the page. This is an example out of my children's picture book where the main elements are the background and the characters, and then all these little flowers and things in the background I used out of Canva. So they're just little accents that really helps make the page pop, make the page stand out, but they're not the main elements. And those little images I used from Canva. Books will also usually have a couple of pages at the beginning for things like a copyright page, and most of the time they usually have an internal cover page too. So you can add those pages and any other pages you want at the front of your story, and the same at the back. If there's any pages you want to add at the back, just add those in before and after your story pages. And the next step is designing and creating your cover. The cover of your book is so important. It's what catches the customer's eye when they're browsing Amazon. So you need to make sure that the cover of your book reflects the style of the story inside. It needs to give a clear idea about the type of story it is and what it's about, and if it's going to be appropriate for the age of the child that the customer is looking at getting it for. And on a more design level, you need to make sure that, for one, the title stands out and that all the illustrations are clear, even when it's as small as the thumbnail size that you see when you're browsing through Amazon search results. When you're looking at your cover as a large image on your computer screen, it can look fantastic, but then when you shrink it right down to a small size, it can look completely different. So when you are looking at your cover, shrink it down to a thumbnail size to make sure that the title is readable when it's small and that you like the look of the cover when it's small. I highly recommend hiring someone to create your cover for you. If you have hired an illustrator to create the interior pages of your book, then they will also create the cover for you. But even if you have purchased your illustrations or you've created your images using AI, then I would recommend having someone make a cover for you. You can have a cover made quite affordably. There are people on Fiverr who can make pretty good covers and they aren't too expensive, and you can just provide them with the illustrations that you purchased for your book to use as part of the cover design. So then you can keep your cover in the same styles and the same themes and designs as the interior pages of your book. And once you have finished creating your interior pages and you've created, or you've at least received the files for your cover image, you are ready to upload your book to your KDP account and publish it to the Amazon marketplace. Now you do need 2 separate files to upload your book to KDP. One file will be the interior pages of the book and the other file will be your cover. The cover file does make up both the front and back cover, so you will only have one file that includes both front and back cover. And uploading your book to your KDP account does include uploading your actual files, but it also is where you're going to be entering the title of your book, a subtitle if you have one, your author name or your pen name, and the description of the book. The description of your book is the place where you can really go into detail about why your book is perfect for this customer. You can tease the story and what it is about or what the child is going to get out of reading this story. And at this point, you'll also need to provide some keywords so that the Amazon algorithm can learn what your book is about and what customer it is suited for, so that when a customer is on Amazon doing a search, Amazon can determine based on your keywords whether it is going to show your book to that customer. So it is really important to use keywords that really help describe your book and who that book is for in relation to what a Amazon customer might be typing or searching for using the Amazon search bar. You'll then need to set your pricing for whichever marketplaces you want to sell your book in. And once you have completed all that information, you are ready to hit publish and make your book available for sale. This whole process of uploading your book to KDP doesn't usually take too long because you should already have everything, like your files, your title, your description, and your keywords. They should all be ready beforehand. And then the uploading process is actually just a matter of entering all that information in. And now it is time to launch your book. Now, admittedly, this is a step that you should start working on before you've published your book, probably before you've even created your book. But since the actual launch takes place after you hit publish, or around the time you hit publish and getting your book onto Amazon, I felt fitting for me to talk about it now after the actual publishing process. But planning a book launch can do wonders for initial sales of your book. A book launch will help generate reviews and sales immediately as soon as your book is published. And what this does is it helps your book get noticed by the Amazon algorithm so that it can more quickly get established in the search results and start showing up in the search results by Amazon recommending it to other customers. If you have the ability to start planning this ahead of time, then getting started a few months before you actually publish your book is a really good strategy. And it will give you time to organize a whole range of different promotions that you can set up in the lead up to you actually launching and publishing your book. Now, the reason that you should do this a few months ahead is not that you're going to be advertising the book before it's published, but it's so that you have time to organize certain promotions that would happen at the time of launch. And sometimes you do need to book these in quite far in advance so that you get a spot in whatever promotion it is that you're doing. So during a launch, you can organize promotions like advertising in book-related email newsletters. There are a few out there that are very popular and have a lot of subscribers who like to learn and hear about new books being published. You can set up to be posting in Facebook groups, planning out email campaigns to an email list if you have one, or using somebody else's email list to do that. You might want to build up some interest on social media before the book is launched, or you might want to build up a list of people who want to review your book. And so you can provide them in advance a digital copy of your book so that when your book is published and it becomes available on Amazon, they've already received it and read it. And then they're just ready to go onto Amazon and leave a review the day that your book is available. And it can take a bit of time to organize all of this. So the more time that you can give yourself to plan out and organize what promotions you want to do and on what dates you want to do promotions, the better. This is not the end of the line though, even though your book is now published. Once your book is available for sale on Amazon, regardless of whether you have done a book launch or not, you will now have to market and promote your book on an ongoing basis. Sometimes you can have such a successful book launch that your book just goes straight up to a really great bestseller rank and it stays there and will just start showing up organically in the Amazon search results. And so organically means you don't pay for that result or for you being in those search results, and you don't have to advertise or promote it. But for most of the time, you will need to do some sort of marketing to keep sales going or to boost your sales after it is newly published. This can be by using Amazon ads or even something like Facebook or Instagram ads, or by promoting your book on social media. And at this point, when you think all of the work is finally done, it is time to rinse and repeat and do it all over again. Creating a series is one of the best ways to generate more sales across all of your books. If you research popular books or popular authors and publishers on Amazon, literally all of them create a series. This series, the How to Catch books, is an extremely popular series of books, not just on Amazon, but in all bookstores. And they have 30 different books currently in this series of How to Catch A. And the majority of these books do very, very well. I think it's safe to say that everybody has heard of Dr. Seuss and the amount of books that is in the Dr. Seuss series. This is another set of very popular books on Amazon, which is called the Always in My Heart series of books. These books sell very, very well. And I could pretty much go through the majority of the most popular children's book authors, and most of them, if not all of them, will have their books in a series. When you have customers who have already bought a book from you before and they like it, they are much more likely to come back and buy more books from you, whereas it's going to be much harder to try and sell a book to a new customer who has never heard of you or your books before. So it's a really smart strategy to take advantage of this and create more books for the customers who already love your brand. So that is the 10 steps that you need to take to get from just an idea of creating a children's picture book to actually creating and publishing one using the Amazon KDP platform. If you have been wanting to write your own children's picture book, but we're not sure where to start, or you thought that maybe you couldn't because you didn't know how to get the book illustrated, or you didn't have the budget to have the book illustrated, then I hope this video has helped answer any of those questions and help clear any of the roadblocks that you might have had about publishing your own children's picture book. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.